We're going to call them in, Ali. Let's call them in.
No, let's call them out.
All right.
No, let's call them out.
We should be like, here's your chance to practice the values that you preach. But whatever, call in, call out, tomato, tomato. Let's go through this.
I mean, a lot of them, frankly, are sociopaths.
Yeah, right. So it's going to fall in deaf sociopathic ears, you're saying.
Yeah.
All right. So who are some of the greatest hits?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to be different for everyone, but I'll just tell you the ones that stood out for me. Yeah. And, I'm going to be a little bit in my niche of, the Palestine angle. One of the big ones, of course, is Bari Weiss. She is a New York Times opinion editor. I'm not sure what background qualifications you have to have for that job. But for her to be signing a letter whining about, cancel culture and censorship, and we're not allowing challenging ideas, and editors are terrified and people are losing their jobs. I mean, the hypocrisy here is just so incredible. I mean, for those who don't know Bari Weiss, when she was at Columbia University, she basically led a witch hunt to have professors, particularly Arab professors, fired for their views, and particularly on Israel. Right. And she was not a minor player in this. She was a big player. She was being quoted in the press at the time. And of course, a major target, not the only target, but the principal target from starting in, around 2002 to this day. So we're talking about 2 decades, has been Professor Joseph Mesad at Columbia University. There was a whole campaign by the Israel lobby, started by the massive Islamophobe Daniel Pipes, targeting Joseph Mesad, trying to get him fired, trying to get his tenure denied, just vilifying him. I mean, at one point, Congressman Anthony Weiner, remember him?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
was calling for Columbia to fire Joseph Mesad. And Bari Weiss was right down there in the trenches, so to speak, calling for professors to be fired for their views and enhancing and spreading a campaign of lies about, intimidation in the classroom and so on. And it got so intense that even the New York Civil Liberties Union, which I think, as Glenn Greenwald pointed out in one of his pieces on this, does not generally get into this kind of controversy on the Middle East, said that the attack on Professor Mesad and others in the MIALAC department, that's the Middle East Studies department, is really about their scholarship and political expression. That's what the New York Civil Liberties Union said about the campaign that Bari Weiss, helped lead to get these professors fired. And she has never acknowledged that. In fact, she's lied about it. Yeah. When she was back in 2018, when she was first hired by the New York Times, and this was all surfaced on Twitter and so on. Yeah. She put out a tweet denying this, and Glenn Greenwald wrote one of these monumental Glenn Greenwald articles, just completely debunking her claims and showing all the receipts, as the kids say, for this massive campaign that she did. So she's clearly, just a horrible person and just a total hypocrite, and nobody should take her seriously.
Yeah, I think she needs to atone at least. But what is she doing at the New York Times anyway? I guess it makes sense in a weird way, but she's one of those terrible people that I guess was hired by, what's his name? Bennett.
Yeah, I mean, we can only really be surprised if we think the New York Times is supposed to be some paragon of actual open debate and critical inquiry instead of a mouthpiece for those in power. And that's what it is. And therefore, someone like Bari Weiss is actually the perfect person to be working at the New York Times. That's if your goal is to do propaganda for the powerful, then you definitely want to hire someone like Bari Weiss.
My favorite Bari Weissism was when she said that Jews who supported BDS were like the Jews in the olden days who reversed their circumcisions.
What do you think about Jews who support BDS?
I'll give you an historical example that I've been thinking a lot about. The Jewish boys, teenagers and young men, were so desperate to fit into the surrounding society. And they wanted to pass off as non-Jews in the gymnasium where you obviously exercised in the nude. So they actually underwent an ancient surgery to undo their circumcisions.
Oh yeah, was that her? It's hard.
Yeah,
for me
that was
to
her.
keep track.
I know that was her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember what she said about Tulsi Gabbard? Did you see that?
So we have Kamala,
Okay, here it comes.
Kristen
Tulsi
Gillibrand. Oh, monstrous
Monstrous?
ideas. She's an Assad toady.
What does that mean?
She is
What's a toady?
I think that I used that word correctly. Jamie, can you check what toady means?
Like toeing the line? Is that what it means?
No, I think it's like a TOADIE.
What does that mean?
I think it means what I think it means.
For
Kinda used it right.
self-serving reasons.
A sycophant.
So she's an Assad sycophant. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's known
No.
about her.
Like, what did she say that,
We have to look.
qualifies
I
her?
don't remember the details.
We
I've read
probably
it.
should say that.
That's cancel culture right
Say
there.
that about her. We should probably
Yeah.
read it rather.
Okay.
She
Just
has
so we
no
know
idea
what
what
she
she's
said.
talking
Look
about.
up
I've had her
Tulsi
on here
Gabbard.
before,
Look
and I
up
really
Tul-
enjoy talking to her. I like her a lot.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Like, you're a professional. You're an op-ed writer at the New York Times, and you go on one of the biggest platforms and you smear this person. Usually when you do a smear, a hit job, you got your talking points. She doesn't even have the decency to have her talking points in order.
It just shows the laziness and entitlement,
Right.
But sure, I mean, she has awful views, and she's entitled to awful views, and that's her right. But the hypocrisy of claiming that our general culture, whatever it is, our universities, our media have become intolerant when she led a campaign to have people, university professors, people whose job it is to investigate ideas, to challenge orthodoxy. She wanted them to be fired for doing their jobs, okay? And then now she works at the New York Times op-ed page, which is the most influential tribune in the English-speaking world, probably.
Right.
And she can write on this massive platform pretty much as often as she wants. And she's complaining that people like her are being canceled and silenced. She just doesn't like being criticized. She doesn't like being called out.
Right.